I mean, yes, this is a constant thing that I have been, you know, trying to answer to a lot of people from India, specifically because um, we have a lot of students who are now tending to go towards design, and obviously, when you have a lot of people, you have a lot of questions, and since we in our country we have started this thing quite recently, like now we have a lot of institutes providing very good education, but initially it was not like that. It started building up with the culture, and so there are always like a lot of questions like how to go to these colleges. Is this college good? Is that college good? What is the placement? And especially like when you come from India, you ask about jobs and the future prospects, and that is something that I have been answering a lot of times, like with kind of compromising answers, because this is something that no one can tell you how much you will earn, which college is good, because it depends on perception. It depends upon like what are your aspirations, So yeah, I think it's important to answer these questions.
So hey guys, welcome back to the Simply Being podcast by Niwwrd. And this is your host Jay Singh Tomer. And today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Ankur Singh. Hello sir, how are you?
Hello, Jen. I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
good too. So basically, as
Glad to be here.
yeah. So basically, I remember a few years back when I was graduating and I was in the college, we used to refer a lot of uh, sketches from senior designers and people who we used to look up to, and you are one of them. So it's a great pleasure for me to do a podcast with you.
The pleasure is mine, and I'm happy that some of my work is used as a reference. I mean, good way or bad way, I don't know, but I'm happy that I'm being at least helping in a way. Yeah, so it's a yeah, it's a good feeling, definitely.
If you
Yeah.
could just give a small intro about yourself for the 5% of people who don't know about you. I mean, a lot of people know about you. Yeah.
So basically, my name is Ankur. Like I said, Ankur Singh. I come from a very small town in MP. It's a state in India. I did uh, my engineering with chemical. I did chemical engineering. Then I moved to masters in industrial design. I know it's a big jump, but it was like that. So I jumped to I came to IIT Delhi. I did my masters in industrial design from there, and there I got to know that I need to learn a little bit more maybe, and so for that I came to SPD Milan, Italy. There I did my another master's, which was in car design and transportation. And there I did my second master's. I finished it. I also did a 1 year course before that because that was kind of norm, since I was not coming from a design bachelor's. So I had to go for this course, and then I was enrolled for the master's. And after that, I did 6 months of teaching in SPD. I was there as an assistant tutor, and then I came to Austria. I worked there as a designer at Design Stores, Austria, and there I served till 6.5 years, 6.5 good years here. And now I'm freelancing full time.
Oh, how is freelancing
And
like?
I moved to France. So,
How is
sorry.
freelancing like in automotive industry?
It's good. It's good, but it's it's a very organized job. I would say that you have to manage everything on your own. When you work in a studio, it's completely different. You go there, you have a client, you have a boss. You have things that you have to do. You get your work done, and then you're done for the day. But here, the work never stops. Because you are the manager, you are the HR, you are the employee, you are the boss, you are the tax guy, you are the accountant. You have to do everything on your own. It's a challenging thing, but I think that's the beauty of this thing. That's the beauty of
Oh,
freelancing. So
basically you're a one-man army
yeah,
doing all the stuff.
it's a yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a it is a very disciplined thing. You know, a disciplined. I mean, jobs are also disciplined. I'm not saying that, but in freelancing, you cannot mess it up because if you do that, then you are basically digging your own grave. You don't have anyone to hide and at the back.
And you don't have
So
anyone to blame as well. It's not comes to that.
exactly. It's your fault. So everything goes to you. You are the target.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
true. So Ankur, can you like elaborate in a way like how was your journey from the start till becoming a senior designer in abroad?
So, like I said, that initially it was when I finished my masters, I had to, it's a bit tricky thing to get internships usually. Especially in my time, it was a bit more difficult because when you when I see how the industry is changing every year, you know, that was not the same case in my story because when I passed out in 2013, it was not that full fledged. You know, the internships were not like, and social media was still there, but it was not that impactful. You don't get internship notifications on Instagram. You don't get job hirings on, a lot of job hirings on LinkedIn. It was basically, I used to refer to Car Design News, the old school way of going there. There was a job portal. You have to go there and you have to check if there is internship or anything. So I tried looking for some, and I had some interviews, but there were layers and layers and things like that. So you really have to like push your limits to get an internship, and I had to do the same. So after SPD, I went to Torino for 6 months. I had some interviews there, and I had some opportunities there also. But then things were a little different, and then I got an opportunity to apply in Austria, where one of my very good friend, and he was also my batchmate in SPD. So Michael Hofbauer. So he came to Austria, and he also introduced me to the studio, and that's how I got to know about the studio. And then I applied it here, and there was a test work. I mean, obviously, a lot of studios now also they emphasize on the test works. So you do the test work, and then after a few days, they are going to review your work. They'll see how it suits you. Then I went for 3 months of probation, where I'm basically an employee. I'm recruited, but there's still a possibility of me being in the studio, or they letting me go. So anything can happen. That's the normal protocol. So I did that. Yeah, he liked my work. He appointed me. I started working there. Initially, I was working with a team, and then I started organizing the team. Then there were interns who were working under me, with me. So and then I was also in charge of a lot of projects, and then yeah, it kind of grew up from there. So it was like this. It was a very linear process, I would say. But then I had my spots of struggle, where you have to kind of fight with the situation to push your limits. And also when you're working in a studio or in a company, there are a lot of other things that you have to manage. You don't have the flexibility of just taking your corner and do your work, get the work done, and then you go to home. It doesn't work like that. So you also have to mingle with the environment. You have to be friendly, and you have to be cooperative with the other design teams also. You have to talk to the clients. You have to have the presentations also, where you are pitching the product basically. So yeah, with these kind of things, with the self improvement and with pushing your limits, I think that's the way how things will roll for anyone, and that worked for me also.
I want to know a little bit about the struggles, stories that you were saying. So, do you have any stories, interesting stories like that?
Like in terms of
Yeah,
design,
I mean, in terms of design or
yeah,
applying or making a portfolio, it could be anything.
yeah, I'd say, see, design is, I would say it's a very interesting field, because right now, sometimes when I talk to few people, they have a preset, structure of how they want to pursue the design education. And for me personally, it doesn't work like that because there are a lot of things that you cannot control. Like for example, I had my studies, and then I went to Torino. There was one very famous studio. They called me for an interview, and I was very happy. I was like, okay, I moved here. I have some savings left because usually when you finish your studies, you have few months to apply, and then your visa expires. So you have to make sure that you get something in between. So, and I think that was for 3 months for me. And those 3 months, you don't have a lot of savings also because you have exhausted your big batch during your studies. So during those 3 months, you have to find something. So I moved to a very small apartment, like a budget stay, and then I tried going, to I was trying to hit my portfolio everywhere, and these guys called me, and I felt very lucky. I was like, okay, I have an opportunity now. I went there, they had an interview with me, and they were very happy. They said, okay, we'll give you a contract, and you can start from like after 1 week. And they gave me a date when I had to report to the studio. And I think it was the 25th or 26th of March or something. So, and I was very happy, excited. And I think a day before, I received an email that unfortunately we cannot take you because there's another candidate that fits better to the profile, and we have to withhold your contract. And I was so disheartened because the fact was that I was a bit taken aback because this was told to me like a day
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
and I was totally not prepared for it. And then I received a call from one of my friends and said, "Yeah, man, I
Oh,
got I got an internship." And I said, "Okay, where you got the internship?" And he said, "Yeah, to this studio." And I said, "Oh God." I said, okay, this is pretty strange because, and then I told him the story that I was called for this, and he felt very bad that, and I said it's not your fault because you never knew about it, and so yeah, things like these they it happen. So yeah, I mean I have a lot of stories like this. At that time it was a because those 3 months they are very critical for any student who is not a native to that country. You don't have the savings. You know if you have the bank loan because I had an education loan and the education loan the installment started immediately after I finished my studies and I had no job. So you have the pressure building in your back that you have to start earning, and that time you take all sort of measures to just get into somewhere. I worked in a studio for almost 1 week for and they told me that if you work well, then we are going to put you to a position. And yeah, I worked there for I think good 15 days, not 1 week, 15 days. And then 15 and everything was hunky dory, everything was good. And then 15 days they told me that yeah, the hiring is not working right now. We are freezing it, but we really like your work and we are going to take you in future. We have your portfolio with us. So I mean that was a subtle way of saying no. So yeah, things like these happen, and you have to be prepared for it. And I mean, it's things can go very unpredictable, but that's how it is, and it's not a bad thing because you learn from there. Yeah, there was one studio they called me for an interview. They gave me test work. It's a very very big company now. So they called me for the interview and they gave me test work to design. It was a motorbike, I think, and they gave me 1 week to do it in Alias. And yeah, and it was a bit tight timeline because at that time I was also applying to other companies, but I still managed. And then yeah, because uh, it's in my laptop because I was doing these travels and all, and it was super heavy, and it was not working properly, so I lagged in that also. So my alias model was not that good, not because of my alias skills; they're not that bad, but I think I because of the situation I was not able to yeah put in that much of effort into that, and I lost the opportunity. So yeah, things like these, it's inevitable.
I mean, I could imagine like uh, moving to a different country where you don't know, a lot of people, and you have a loan as well, and so a lot
Yeah,
of all sorts of situations that happen. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's true. That's true. And there's a lot of pressure also, because back in India, people also start asking you like, okay, your studies are done. What's your job status? It's not that quick, you know. You apply, and a lot of job opportunities don't convert because of documentation. That's one important thing that people don't understand because, uh, like for example, if you apply somewhere, like if you apply to US, you know, or UK, they'll ask you if you have a sponsorship, and if you say no, obviously, which you don't have, immediately your chances of getting there will be reduced because sometimes it's easier for a company, and it's not their fault because there's a lot of paperwork that's involved when you hire a professional from outside, and it's a lengthy process, and then these companies cannot guarantee you staying in the country because obviously you don't belong to the country. You might leave anytime, and this whole process, whole paperwork will go in vain. So a lot of documentation is involved, and that's why sometimes the jobs are not converting also.
Yeah, and I can imagine like the professional should have like an outstanding portfolio for them, for a company to hire them from outside. That is there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because usually it's a it's a process where they have to, you know, I mean, it's a technical thing, but usually when someone uh, is getting hired to a company which is, which is in some other country, this country has to declare to the government that they couldn't find anyone who fits to this profile in their own country, and it has a window. Yeah, so it has a window. Like in 3 months, if someone comes to them who belongs to the same country and say, okay, I have these these skills, and there's a chance that you might. So it's basically you have to the company has to play a big gamble also on you when they're hiring you.
The studies abroad. So basically, you have studied in India and you have studied at Italy as well. So can you tell us a bit about the major difference that you found between the study type of both the countries?
Mhm. So in India, it was. So the thing is that when we talk about studies in different countries, I mean, for Germany, for Italy, for India, I think the study is different on the basis of infrastructure. Obviously, the kind of infrastructure that the college or the institute of a particular country is providing, uh, and the exposure. So these two things that affect a lot. So when I was in India, it was obviously it was a lot of knowledge. I got to know a lot of things in India. My base was prepared in India. I got to experience the hands-on approach because a lot of things have to be done by yourself. You don't have a lot of things that you get it done. Like as a where you can just pick it. So a lot of things that you have to do on your own. You have a very hands-on approach. Also, the products which we are working there, like for example, the ideas, the concepts, they are global, but they are also very influenced by the market where you are. So when in India, if you're designing a product, you are basically most of the time you're thinking about the market which is surrounding that product, and that happens everywhere. If a studio is working in Europe, unless they are being told that this is the market, they will by default take Europe as the base market, and they will define problems and they will define solutions, keeping this in mind. So that happens with every country, and that happened in India also. That it's more hands-on approach. You understand and embrace the local market and the local environment and everything. uh, when I came to Italy, it was different because obviously I got a little support from my previous studies. So here it was more like working with people who are coming from different background, from different countries. So this was more like a competition, where you are trying to learn and to compete with people who come from different backgrounds, from different countries, and they have their own expertise. So here you have to learn from them also. It's not only with the teachers, but you learn more with your colleagues. And obviously, the exposure is different. Here you get to meet a lot of other people from other countries, and designers from different companies. So both had a vital role, like some very good points that they emphasize and that they put in my resume. So I think that it was different, obviously, but it was different in a way that I learned from both sides.
That's
Yeah.
great. So, like, can you say that like studying abroad, like, is it worth it, or like in today's timeline, like, can a person study from a Indian university and develop that level of skills and opportunity?
See, the thing is that it completely depends on what your goals are, what exactly you want to pursue. Like, I have known people who have done their studies in India and they have not done any study outside and they are working here in Europe. So, and I have seen people who have worked in, who have studied in India and abroad, and then now they are working in India. Since the market is expanding like anything in India, the market is expanding. There are new studios. There's a completely different design culture now. So, I think that it's it won't be correct to say that if you don't have a foreign university in your in your education background, you won't land up anywhere. So I don't think that's the thing, but obviously you will get a lot, you will learn a lot, you get a lot of exposure. And like I said, that design studies is not only about studying from the book or practicing it on your own. It's more about sharing it and meeting people from different areas. So I think this exposure part is something that is going to be completely different when you come outside, and that basically builds your thought process, your mentality, your way of looking at things, and that affects your overall your design aptitude.
I mean, a lot of students have this debate, like once they're, for example, a student has done a graduation in design, so should they even consider going for masters or not? I mean, like, for me, what I think is like masters is basically just a condensed form of what what is taught in that 4 year window uh,
Yeah.
that was taught in graduation. Like, is it right, or
Yeah.
what are your views on that?
See, masters is definitely important because in bachelors, I mean, there's a reason why they have the masters and why usually the companies prefer people who have, done their masters in design, because obviously you get to work more intensively on projects. You have a different understanding when you work. I mean, when you study your masters, your spectrum of knowledge for design basically expands in masters, because you, like, for example, for me, if I have to compare with the bachelor's, I mean, it's in engineering, but if I can elaborate on the way the curriculum works, is it is it is more how to say, expanded, but there's no core knowledge of things specifically involved. But when you come to the masters, it's kind of like you said, it's the condensed knowledge, and it skims you more. It takes more out from you. So master will anyways give you an upper edge. If you talk about the job scene, if you talk about your knowledge, and if your own thing, if your own design aptitude, I mean, it enhances 100%. So I think masters is a way to go. But there are cases, you cannot say that's 100% valid for everyone. There are cases, there are nuances, when people have done their bachelors. And I mean, previously, few years ago, people were doing their bachelors and they're getting their job, and then in the job they progress. So that was the thing in the past, but now I think people want to have more, you know for people who are from more from this kind of background, where they have more extensive knowledge about something that they want to work on.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, for sure, it's a very subjective thing to say. Like, everyone will have their own perceptions according to their own
Yeah,
experiences.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because a lot of time I have what I have heard from people is that, like, as design is a very hands-on and a very practical kind of application, practical kind of thing. You can say that. So learning by being in a studio and working at a OEM would give you like an equal amount of knowledge what would the masters guy have.
I think no, it's you see, the thing is that you will learn anyways in those, but working on a real project on people who are actually responsible for delivering it to someone who's going to use it, it's a completely different experience than studying in masters. So obviously there is a difference. In masters, you'll work on projects which are basically under some sort of supervision. But here it's like an open game. You are on your own. So that is the difference. You learn from both sides, but this thing is more. It's a how to say, it's a risky game. Here you still have some support. You have your people. You have your mentors, but yeah, you will be still be supported. Here it's not like that always.
Yeah, I agree to that. Like, and while studying, you have a lot of freedom as well. I mean,
Yeah.
while working, you have a client who will say that he wants this and this much only.
Yeah. I mean, as a student, you can always get away by saying that this is your part of your learning. You're learning, you're experimenting. But when you're working, the experiment part might not be, valid for everything. You cannot have a deadline, and you can say, yeah, and you are saying that you want to experiment something which might not go well with the client. So, you know, the obviously the playground is much narrow.
Yeah, that is true. Uh, Next question is a very blunt question. Okay, I just want to ask, like, for example, if there are 100 people who are passing out from a university abroad, so how much what is the percentage of people who gets placed after the graduation?
There was a good percentage of people getting pulled in by automotive industries. The situation has changed a little bit after COVID. Things are not the same, not only because of COVID, but also because how the design is evolving. Now everyone is uh, competing in the EV world, and it's the generation of AI. A lot of things are happening. So the thing is that if I had to say, like, out of 100, I mean, there's no particular figure, but there's a good amount of people who get placement. Uh, and the placement might not always be in form of a job. Sometimes it's an internship. Sometimes it's a test work. Sometimes it's a sponsored internship, and sometimes it's also unpaid internship. So, which might not be that much. People usually don't uh, offer you that, but there can be different ways of hiring students. So, but there is a good percentage. There's still good percentage of people who are getting placement. But obviously, the placement is also, like I said, it comes with terms and conditions. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a very subjective thing because, excuse me. So it's subjective because the thing is that the industry is heavily influenced by whatever is happening. You know, like if something is happening in terms of technology, something like, for example, the batteries are, like last year there were shortage of batteries, and the laptops were not selling. It doesn't mean that the laptops never are not selling anymore. It's just that the phase, and if you happen to be in that phase, you are going to get slayed, and that happens. So if, for example, if some X company had some issue and there's a, something happened in the industry, and there are layoffs, and you happen to be in that session, then obviously you're going to suffer the blunt. Yeah, yeah, it happens, and Yeah. So it's and sometimes everything is going good. There are possibilities, and the year is going good. There are no big changes in the industry. And yeah, in that case, you might have a very good chance of making it in.
So as we were discussing about studies, the difference between studies in abroad and India.
Mhm.
Similarly, I want to ask you, while you're working there, what is the basic difference there that you can feel? Well, the difference can be of culture, freedom, salary, and resources,
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah. Uh, See, the difference is basically with the like I said, the infrastructure, the people whom you're working with, the environment. The salary is obviously it's a topic that a lot of people discuss, and there are differences in that also. But then it's with current scenario, I won't say it's a huge difference. The difference is much narrow now. A lot of people are going to India to work there also. There are people who are coming from India to work. So it's very subjective thing. But yeah, in when you work here, you get to work with a lot of people from different backgrounds. You get to learn a lot with them, and obviously the culture is. If you come from India, for example, and you work in Europe, the culture is completely different. You have to understand, you have to respect that culture, and obviously you have to grow with that culture, because not every client of yours come from some other country. Maybe your 70% or 80% of client base is from Europe, and you cannot get away by saying that I don't belong here, so I don't know. You have to learn the culture, you have to accept it, you have to. People also learn the language, you know, to understand them better, to understand, to empathize more with them, to empathize more with the client. So that is something that you have to do here. When you are in your own country, you don't have to go for that edge, because you already know the language, you know the people, you know the culture, you know how to get things done. So here it will be a little bit different in terms of, and you have to be a bit more, appreciative. You have to be a bit more acceptable to everything. So that's something that will help you in your job. It will help you to expand your circle, your social circle, and you have to be involved. You have to push yourself to that thing. You and About the salary, yes, there are differences. In India, you get the salary which is perfect according to uh, the Indian market. Here, you have a different salary which might be a little bit higher than that, but obviously, then the expenses are in the same proportion. So if you just look at the salary difference, there is a salary difference, but then you also have to think about in which country you are staying. You know what how's the economy there? What is the living standard? What are the standard cost of living? So there you have to pay a little bit more than what you are paying in India. So it's very proportional. It's very proportional that. 100 you're earning there, you are spending 20. Here you're earning maybe 200 and you are spending maybe 35, 40. So then things kind of balance out in that way.
That's true. Um, I would ask you, like, how did you manage to secure a job as a senior designer in abroad?
So like I said, that after my studies, I started. I took LinkedIn Premium for the first time. As a student, you have to pay for that, and I started communicating, talking to people, and sending my resume and my portfolio with a cover letter to everyone I knew. And I the initial aim was just to get something, get an opportunity, and to stick with it. Um, and I was lucky enough to be called by my college, and they said that if you're around, we would like to have you in the university to have as an assistant tutor with our professors. So that was a good opportunity. I was from that college and I knew people, I knew everything. So I accepted it. I was there. And while I was in my doing my tutorship, I was also applying to other companies and other studios. Uh, I moved to Torino. I told you the story. So yeah, so a lot of things happened there, and then I was called to Austria for the test work. I gave the test work. Then I was in the probation. Then I continued working here. I also got other opportunities on the side, but yeah, it was, you know, there were things, and that's why we I couldn't follow that. But yeah, it was a very linear thing, linear way of, me being here. But yeah, obviously there were hiccups, ups and
So were
downs.
there any
Yeah.
specific, skills that you had to develop or enhance to, in order to get a job?
So, I mean, this is something that I was struggling a lot when I came to SPD, because I came to the masters, and I did my masters in industrial design, and it was more about, it was not about hardcore automotive rendering and sketching and techniques like that, but it was more about, the approach of design, how we understand emotional design, empathy, and things like that. But when I came here, there were people who were very fluent in, in Photoshop. There were people who knew alias like anything. There were people who worked in the industry before, and they came for the study, so they were like on the other level. So I was kind of lost, like what exactly I had to do, because everyone is kind of killing it, and I, with my limited knowledge, I mean, and I'm also a bit, uh, I'm new to this place, how I'm going to manage everything. And then I started learning, and there I basically realized that, it's not about, to be the best. It's about to learn to deliver what is the best. Okay, so I sat with a lot of my friends, like other friends of mine, my batchmates. Someone who knew Alias, someone who knew, 3D Max at that time. Blender was not that popular. So I used to sit with them, work with them, try to understand things, how exactly they are working, what's their work culture. And then I started collecting skills, in different fields. And I also got to know, and then I started realizing that, it's not about what exactly I need to learn. I think I have to find it myself. What is my strong hand, first of all, and what I should learn, which will help me express myself, in terms of design, obviously. So, like for example, there are people who don't like to sketch a lot, but they have a very good understanding of surfaces, and how the surfaces flow, how the vehicle and the volume should look like, and they go for clay modeling, for example. So they might not be very good at sketching, they might not be very good at rendering, but they are master in sculpting the volume. So it's completely dependent on the student. First of all, what exactly is your stronghold? Are you someone who is more interested in building the things and visualizing it? Then you go for more 3D or more, rendering side. Are you someone who wants to, who loves to sculpt, who have more artisan hands, the way of exploring? You can try clay modeling. Or someone who likes to sketch and who likes to render and see things more in 2D and 3D, kind of mixed medium. You go in more in this side. And once you decide that, then you are more aware of the tools that you want to have. Like for example, for me, I like concept art. I like concept art a lot. So I used to follow like a lot of science fiction series, documentaries, science fiction movies, and things like that. I used to read about them. I used to buy art book. So after every movie, you have an art book, which is released by the same company. So buy those art books and try to understand like how they work, and what are the tools that they use, and is it going in the same way like I feel. Like for example, my way of sketching is probably sketching and then going to Blender and making a rough 3D volume and then taking it back and then rendering it again. So for that, I need to learn Blender. I need to know Photoshop. So I know about the tools now. So this is how I think everyone should explore stronghold and then the tools involved, and then you can deliver the best of
Yeah.
your.
So basically, you have to pick your priorities first, and then just work hard towards
Exactly,
it.
exactly, exactly.
That's great. So, I mean, I've got a lot of people who are from, who have studied from India, who, you know, wants to move abroad and, just want to work there. Maybe get some exposure there in terms of work. So, what is that? What are some tips that you would like to give them?
So, if for example, if you want to move abroad, if you want to explore a bit more um, outside India, and if you are coming here for like for studies, it's very clear. But if you're coming here for job, I think you have to make sure that you have a very strong portfolio, and that's I think that's the that's the gospel truth. Like everyone will tell you, you need to have a very strong portfolio. Then you need to have a cover letter, which I think most of the people they miss it because the cover letter, the portfolio shows your skills, that you know this, you know that, but the cover letter shows your intent. It tells more about you as a person. It's not it's not images and projects and products, which will catch my eye, but this explains more about your passion, what you feel about the industry, why you want to be here, what exactly is your idea. So a cover letter is very important. Try to contact to people in a very in a better way. Like in current scenario, we have the freedom of just pinging and dropping message to anyone because Instagram is a free source. But it doesn't work like that. That you just jump to somebody's inbox, send your portfolio without telling them, without having any conversation, and it's not how you should do. Try to talk to them, try to communicate and express what exactly you feel in a proper way. Then if they allow, you can ask them that if they want a portfolio, if they want to have a word on your portfolio, you can share it. Then you can show them, things will go, things can go much better if you start communicating properly. That's very important. uh, Sometimes I also received, like when I was working in the studio, I also received a lot of portfolios with just a simple hi, please check my portfolio, thanks. And it's not a, it's not a good way. And the thing is that you're not getting hired for this job, and you might not get hired for any job if this is your attitude. So I think you have to take it a bit slow. People, they are not expecting a lot from you, but just little bit of respect. So yeah, so you just have to, try to express things in a bit more organized way and a bit more subtle way. And you need to have a portfolio, like I said. And then once they or anyone who's interested tries to, contact you, then you can proceed further. And don't spam people with your portfolio or your letters or requests, you know. Uh, Also, so yeah, so yeah, that's what I was saying, that you have to be a bit more, um,
Yeah, yeah. I,
proper in terms of your communication.
a, b-
It's very
a bit
important.
formal is it's nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't try to be over friendly with people you don't know just because you want a job. Don't try to stalk them. Don't, spam them with your emails. And it can be a very easy thing, and it can go very smooth if you don't cross the, yeah, the limits. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as we were discussing the topics that we were, wanting to brought on to the podcast, you said communication is a very important thing. It's a very interesting topic to talk about because, like, for example, if a person wants to approach uh, a senior design manager or a hiring manager for example, so what is an ideal way to communicate or in general just create a connection with them, which is not too cold and not too warm,
Mm.
not too friendly.
Yeah, I mean the best way of communicating with someone whom you see as a hiring professional. I think it's better way to go to their email ID. If you can find it from the company, if they have it in LinkedIn, try to send them an email. Try to contact via LinkedIn. I think that's a much better way rather than, because Instagram is a place where you don't get jobs. It's good for posting things and everything, and that's how people perceive the platform to be. So if you approach someone with with a random message on Instagram, I think it already decreases your credibility. So go to their official email ID. If they don't have any, you can just spark a conversation, say hello, and these are my initials. And don't send them your portfolio in the first message, because maybe they're not interested. So you can just ask them about the possibility, and if they are okay, you would like to share the portfolio with them, and then from there they will converse with you, and whatever medium you choose after that, that's fine. But initially your first impression has to be good. um, Rather than that, I mean, there are other ways of also, like for example, apart from LinkedIn, you can also go via different mediums. I think there are some other professional job search websites where they mention their email. Like for example, in car design news, usually you have the email ID of the HR. They always mention it, so you can contact through that. And I think they only take those emails seriously also, because they come through a proper channel. They're not coming from, and it is less possibility of losing it if it comes from Snapchat or Instagram. I think it's more likely that they'll miss it. And don't start with, it's a personal thing that I feel that it might not happen with, it's maybe it's not general, but I and a lot of my friends who work in industry, they get random messages from random people sending their sketches and saying, hey bro, can you please check this? And there are people who, this is very informal way of
Yeah,
communicating. So
people at your stage, and they have like worked really hard to get at that level. So like being a
yes.
bit respectful would be like
Yes, because I understand sometimes the intent is not bad, but this is not very professional, and this will land you in a spot that is not, that you won't like. Because if this is, for example, if for me, if I'm understanding it, and I can tell you that okay, maybe this is not proper. So, and I cannot imagine how many times you have used the same thing with a lot of people, and you missed so many opportunities because of that. And that's and yeah, like once I received a message from a person. He sketched something, because few people still feel that if you can sketch, you can be a designer, which is a myth. It's not like that. So this guy sketched on a newspaper, and he sent me, and he said the same thing, like, "Hey, bro, can you please check my sketch?" And this and I feel bad that the sketch was good. It was not bad, but the approach is bad. So
I mean,
this
even if you
can
have like good skills and you are
good
getting
skills,
there,
yeah.
uh, com- being a bad communicator can mess things up.
Exactly. You cannot mess up with that, because that's, like I said initially when I started, that uh, me working here, I have to do a lot of other things apart from just designing and sitting and doing conceptualization. Sometimes I have to sit in front of a table full of clients, and I have to explain everything. And that's not that is something that you have to learn. You have to communicate. Sometimes you have to be in a meeting where you're not talking about design at all, but you are just socializing, with your peers. So it's a lot of things. It's basically building your personality, to get there, to be more professional, to be more accessible, but still like a responsible person.
So yeah, I mean, these were like very important topics that a designer, a young designer or a aspiring designer should keep in mind. So that was needed to be addressed finally. So
Yeah.
and at last, is there any advice that you would like to since our topic is jobs in abroad? So is there any advice that you would like to give to an aspiring designer who would like to move abroad?
So, so for me, with current scenario, with so much of things happening around, around design industry, things are changing on daily basis. I would say that if you are working hard, if you know your skills, if you know how to, express yourself in a good way with some sort of expertise, I think that you don't have to be dependent on any specific factor for your job or for your growth or for your future, because it's not like if you have done your studies in India you cannot have a bigger career. It's not like if you have studied outside India you will sure shot have a good career. It's not like that. It ultimately drops down to your individuality, how good you are, how good you are in terms of expressing yourself, how good you are in terms of communication, how well you can narrate your story, what exactly you're feeling. So I think it's not always that you have to study outside, or you have to have this kind of degree, or you have to do the masters, or you have to do the bachelor's then only. So because we have seen examples where people who come from a very different background and they excelled in the industry and now they're in some other level. So it's everything comes down to your aptitude, what you want to do. And yeah, there are positives. Obviously, you there are positives of working outside, studying outside, but there are also counter sides to these. Yeah, and since we are talking about this in today's day and age, I think everything is kind of connected. You don't have to feel you don't have to feel low for anything that okay you don't have this for example you don't know this software, or you don't have this kind of portfolio, or you don't have that kind of college degree. It's irrelevant, as long as you are good at it. Yeah, as long as you know what your skills are.
Yeah, that is true. So as we are talking about, getting hired and getting a job, I want to talk a bit about opposite of that. So, for example, when a person leaves their job, and how significant is the process, and how can that process impact their creativity and mental well-being?
See, that's very important, because when you leave your job, you basically you need someone who can actually morally, and emotionally support you, because these are the hard times when you leave the job. You are in a process where you are again looking for a job. You're sitting for interviews. You need a calm and relaxed mind to get hired, because when you're going to a new job, they actually don't know, and they don't care about what your past experiences were. They want to hire a fresh guy, and you have to be in your correct mental state and your current emotional and state to get this job. And for that, you need to have some sufficient funds so that you can support yourself. That's why leaving a job is a very crucial, can be a very crucial decision when you have to do that. Okay, so you have to make sure that you have someone or people whom you can rely once you are out of the job. You should have some sort of financial support which can support you till the time you find another job, because your mental well-being is very important. And also you need to somehow try to also push yourself, not to go in the downslope side, because quitting a job is not something that is new to anyone, and that is like it happens. It's normal, and you are eventually going to find a new one. But also think about the person who's going to hire you in future. He needs someone who's motivated, who is enthusiastic, and you cannot take your past burdens to that guy, because that is going to be problematic for you only. So you have to go through this phase with an enthusiasm and some funds.
That's true. I mean, yeah, that was it. Like, I think there's a lot of pieces of wisdom in this overall conversation that people should apply and apply in their careers and generally in their life. So thanks a lot for tuning in with us.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for inviting me. I think it was a lot of, yeah, lot of chat and a lot of fun discussing these topics because I have, like I said, that I've been encountering these questions on daily basis, and there are students who actually need help, and there are people who actually look for answers. And I think if we can contribute at least 5% to those, those quests, I think we are done with our part. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
And thanks, guys, for tuning in with us. Like, share, and subscribe.